And for the pledge of allegiance.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I see we have one guest.
Right, Carrie?
Mr. Carey, do you have any comments on the agenda? How come?
Just here to take notes.
Okay. Can I have a motion, please, to approve the minutes of January 18, 2024?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Brandon.
Yes.
Mr. Herford.
Yes.
Mrs. Mahalik.
Yes.
Mr. Rivera.
Yes.
Mr. Shelton. Mrs. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Washburger.
Yes.
Mrs. Whitaker.
Yes.
Mrs. Williams.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Did we get an opportunity to ask for correction to the minutes?
Sure.
My name.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yes, they were
It was
corrected.
corrected, we
Yes.
did.
Okay.
You prefer that name instead? It was
Oh,
corrected.
yeah, you know, Smith, I
Yes,
understand.
yes.
Okay, any actions from the executive session?
No action, but for the record, we should note that we had an information session prior to today's meeting commencing at noon. We also received briefings on litigation matters in the executive session on the federal bankruptcy case involving the city of Chester, the Supreme Court case involving the city of Chester and the receiver, a PUC administrative matter, and state court matters in Delaware County, which included the case recently noticed for hearings by Judge Whalen that was filed in 2021. But no action needed today.
Okay.
I have nothing further to report.
Okay. The next item is item 8, the Chief Financial Officer's report. There are 3 items there. Item A, to approve the expenses by function report. Item B, to sign resolutions to open operating accounts with WSFS Bank. And item C, request to approve CWA credit card use policy. May I have a motion for those 3 items, please?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Brandon.
Yes.
Mr. Herford.
Yes.
Mrs. Mahalik.
Yes.
Mr. Rivera.
Yes.
Mr. Shelton. Yes. Mr. Washburger.
Yes.
Mrs. Whitaker.
Yes.
Mrs. Williams.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, moving to number 9, the Director of Engineering's report. There are several items. I'd like to take them somewhat sequentially, but I'd like to have a motion for item 9A, please, which is the authorization to advertise the furnishing and delivery of distribution materials as well as delivery of quarry materials.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Brandon.
Yes.
Mr. Herford.
Yes.
Mrs. Mahalik.
Yes.
Mr. Rivera.
Yes.
Mr. Shelton. Yes. Mr. Washburger.
Yes.
Mrs. Whitaker.
Yes.
Mrs. Williams.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Mrs. Smith, yes.
Oh. Mrs. Smith. Yes. Motion carries.
Next, I'd like to entertain a motion for items D and E of number 9. And D is the proposal from Ecologics for a leak monitoring system. And the other is to purchase a leak detection equipment from 540 Technologies using CoStars. So that's items 9, D, and E. We have a motion for those, please.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Brandon.
Yes.
Mr. Herford.
Yes.
Mrs. Mahalik.
Yes.
Mr. Rivera.
Yes.
Mr. Shelton. Yes. Mrs. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Washburger.
Yes.
Mrs. Whitaker.
Yes.
Mrs. Williams.
Yes.
Motion carries.
I'm sorry, jumping
I'm
back.
sorry.
Yeah, jumping back to item, I checked them off. I was like, oh, I didn't check that myself. Item 9B and C, which are requests to approve 2 on-call agreements. The first is with Black and Beach Corporation and the other is with Keystone Engineering Company. We have a motion for items 9B and C.
So moved.
Second. Just a question. Okay, it says not to exceed 100,000. How much has it been costing us for item C thus far, on average?
Is that the Keystone one?
Keystone.
Yes.
Last year it was zero because actually it was typically run through the electrical contract. Historically, it's probably not, I would say it's not even half of that, up to 50,000, but we settled on 100,000 for this.
Okay.
Mr. Brandon,
Yes.
Mr. Herford,
Yes.
Mrs. Mahalan,
Yes.
Mr. Rivera,
Yes.
Mr. Shelton, Mrs. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Walshberger,
Yes.
Mrs. Whitaker,
Yes.
Mrs. Williams.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Moving on to item F. It's the main extension and developer agreement, and this is an agreement for, is it Tojo?
Tojo
Okay.
Mushroom.
Tojo Mushroom for a maximum cost contribution of $161,075. May I have a motion for that item, please?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Question. When you say maximum, is that the amount you're paying? Or are you saying maximum, that's the amount you're not gonna overpay? Is that the amount you're paying? Because that's the first
So
question.
that'll be the maximum we would pay.
Okay, so
we-
you could pay less than that?
We could pay less than that, so we would reimburse the applicant up to that amount. But they'll give us their costs and everything, they'll give us their certified payrolls. If it comes in at 130,000, we would just reimburse 130,000.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Brandon,
Yes.
Mr. Herford,
Yes.
Mrs. Mahalan,
Yes.
Mr. Rivera,
Yes.
Mr. Shelton, Mrs. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Walshberger,
Yes.
Mrs. Whitaker,
Yes.
Mrs. Williams.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next, we have the executive manager's report. Is there anything?
I have no items, Mr. Chairman.
Moving on, is there any new business? Okay, hearing none. Any old business? Okay, hearing none, moving on. Do we have any public comment?
No.
We have no public comment. Okay, at this point, I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. The meeting is adjourned.